Hey drivers, we are behind the shop right now, and I need to show you the next phase of our little journey here on building the new haptic garage. What you see behind me is a concrete pad that started out as actually smaller than this, just to be a place to park the RV, just a good slab of concrete where I could work on the RV, wash it, and not have to deal with a ladder in the sand. I was done working in the sand, and I didn't want to come up here and work in the dirt. So the idea was to just have a concrete pad for the Mosey home. Well, it was suggested wisely that we choose a size for this concrete pad that matches typical building sizes. So if I wanted to put a structure like a carport or even a building in this spot, that it would already be the correct size. So I'm like, okay, let me look into that. So I started looking into buildings and thinking about how I would use such a space and what I wanted to invest in the whole venture, and things got a little bit out of control. What I decided on was 30 by 40. Anything bigger than that, costs really go through the roof. But I thought, wow, if I could have a 30 by 40 concrete pad and then eventually someday have a 30 by 40 building, I could keep the RV in there, and there would also be another stall for whatever else, like what I was working on in terms of a car or a bus or park a trailer or something. And so that decided it. We went with 30 by 40, and that's what you see back here. Well, one of my problems that I have right now is space. There's just too much stuff here. One way I'm going to solve that is to get rid of the stuff that doesn't serve the purpose, of growing Haptic Garage into the vision that we have for it. And that'll really help. The other thing is we're going to go ahead and put up the building. It just makes sense. I looked into storage containers, like Connex boxes, that kind of a thing. I looked into outside storage. None of that made as much sense as, you know what, just go ahead and do it. Just go ahead and put up the building. So in a couple of days, they'll show up, and a 30 by 40 building will be erected right here on top of this pad behind the shop. Hey there, Wally. You helping, buddy? Thank you. Now there's 6 feet between this pad and the shop building. And what I thought is it would be really great to have a pass-through between the two buildings. So when this concrete pad was poured, I asked for a concrete pad between the two slabs. And so that's what this does. It kind of transitions down a little bit there. And so the plan was, or is, to cut a hole here about 8 feet high and the width of the pad, cover it, and I've asked for an opening here as well. So that'll be built into the new building. It's going to be a little weird because this will come out to here, and then the opening will start all the way over to right there. But once it's covered, that'll make a whole lot more sense. Now I'm kind of thinking, hey, let's just fill all of this in with concrete and extend the building out to come all the way up to this wall. So that may be a future project. But phase 1 of all of that nonsense is the building that's going up here. Obviously, all this stuff needs to be moved, so that's my task today, is to get the Mosey home and the trailer moved out of the way. And what I'd like to do is lay out all of the openings and mark them on the slab to minimize the chance of mistakes when the base rail is being cut and the openings are being sized and so on. So we have a little bit of work to do here to prepare for build day coming up very soon. Let's take a walk. We need the truck to move those trailers around, and it is at the rental property. So we're gonna go grab the truck. While we're doing that, I'll share a little detail with you. I got a call from the manufacturer, actually the president of the company, of the carport company, and he said, Mr. Hughes, we have a little problem. We ordered all of the steel for your building, but we got the colors mixed up. What I'd asked for was dark gray sides and a white roof. I'm thinking reflect heat and look good. They got those two flipped. So it'll be a dark gray roof with white sides. Now, of course, I had the option to say, nope, give me what I ordered. And it would have taken another month or so, and I don't really care. That would be fine because I'm busy with the rental. I'm not in a hurry for this building to be up. It'll just be nice to have it done. So the timing thing wasn't the issue. What sealed the deal for me is he gave me another option, which I think was probably better for him too, was a pretty steep discount on the building. And I'm like, okay, cool. That'll buy some good garage doors for it, and someday when it needs it, I can paint it whatever color I want. Until then, we'll just live with it. So we're gonna have like a gray tone kaleidoscope collection of buildings out there. None of them are gonna match. And that's okay, because that's not what we need. What we need is a solid build. We need a good structure to do our work in, and as long as we end up with that, I'm going to be happy. Funds are always tight, so getting a little bit of a discount off the building is going to be helpful too. So we'll see how it goes, but I said, all right, we'll help each other out here. Let's go with the white building and dark gray roof. I was looking at this little patch of mud here thinking, you know, this would be a good time to clean that up, when I realized much of this will never see the light of day again once the building is built on top of it. So after sitting out here for a couple of years with, you know, a little bit of weather on it, I think I'm going to pressure wash this thing. This will be the easiest time that I have to wash this pad or the floor of the new building with something like a pressure washer. So I'm going to do that now, because it'll be like a mop if I ever do that in the future. Tomorrow is build day, and I think we're all set. The pad looks a whole lot better after that pressure wash. And I've done a few more things to try and make the install team's job a little bit easier. I bet these guys could throw one of these buildings up just about anywhere with zero support, but the easier I can make it for them, I think the better off. So I've got some snacks available for them, electricity is available, I have water, don't know what they'd need it for, but I have a water hose run out here. And I've taken the liberty of marking the openings just because they're so critical. I don't want any mess ups on my part or theirs. So I've marked it all out to make it clear where the openings should be and what their dimensions are. The wall has to come from this edge here a foot out, and then this is the beginning of a door opening, and so I've gone ahead and marked those dimensions there. Then again, we have to have another foot before a garage door starts here. And I've marked that as well. Then a foot divider from there to there, and another garage door. Then finally, it's the rest. This is 25 inches from there to there, which is just enough to put a 2-foot deep shelf here. I ran out of space. I would love to have had another 1.5 inches because the base rail over here will be 2.5 inches wide. So I'm going to kind of eat up 1.5 inches of my opening, but that's all right. We can still make use of this wall and have the big garage doors that we want. What you think there, Wally? This is such a nice view. I think this area is going to be a cool place to hang out. So a lean-to or something in the future will probably be here on this side of the building. So I wanted a door. We're going to put a 3-foot door here facing out towards the field. So I think I've done what I can. Tomorrow's build day. They'll get here in the afternoon, so a short day tomorrow. I think they'll probably just unload everything and we'll get a chance to check out the materials. It's getting exciting. It's build day. The installers should be here in about an hour or two to start unloading and setting up the next building in the emerging Haptic Garage complex. This building will mainly be used to store the RV, but we've made it twice as big as we need for that purpose. So there'll be storage in here, and if I get all my wishes in the long term, maybe even a lift where we can do automotive maintenance in here while we focus on machining tasks in the existing shop. The crew is taking a break, so I have a real quick second here to show you what's going on. First of all, they're moving fast, as these buildings do. They got the base rails in. That took a bit of time to get all of that right and the openings and so on, but they got all that sorted and then started putting up the actual structure. And this is where you see a lot of development real quick, right? They just slide those things onto the little stubs one at a time. Just 3 guys are levering these things up into place, and it's really fascinating to watch them work. Of course, I'm doing my best to stay out of the way. But here's the problem that we ran into. When the concrete was poured, the forms back here must have been stressed a little bit. So what you're seeing is a little bit of a bow in the middle there to a depth of about 1.25 inches. So this line marks where the concrete should have been cut. So I called my neighbor who has access to a concrete saw, and he is coming through in a pinch to cut this concrete for me. So the timing may work out just perfect. I really don't want to hold up the crew. They do these things fast, and that's what they plan for, and that's how they budget, and that's how they price and all that. I don't want to upset the economics of the situation and burden the crew that's putting this thing together. So if we can get this concrete cut while they're at lunch, and then it's ready for them to move forward when they get back, everything's going to be perfect. So hopefully that's how it works out. And then what that will allow us to do is have the siding, like if the base rail is here, have the siding extend just below the top of the concrete a little bit, and that prevents water from getting underneath that base rail. This is the tool they use to get the upright portions in place. They slide the tube on here, so there's, like, if you could imagine this whole piece, right? There's one guy on each end and one guy with a strap in the middle. And so they have it leaned over, and they slide the tubes onto here, lever it upright, and then they lift it one side at a time onto the little stub. They tack it in and then move on to the next one. The first big build day is done, and it's looking like a fairly impressive structure here. This will be the tallest space that I've ever had to work in by a long shot. The ceiling of the shop in Florida was 92 inches tall, something like that. Just about standard stud height. Here we have a 9-foot building. It's the shop building, of course. Well, I ordered 14-foot walls on this building, and then of course the peak of the roof goes up a little bit higher than that. I keep saying that I'm going to get really excited when it's done. That's when I'll just be giddy, when it's done and everything is right. But by all signs, with how things have gone today, everything's going to get done right. These guys are good at what they're doing. They get along. We're able to collaborate well. You know, we had that bit of excitement back here with the concrete. Let's see if I can show you some of that. As you saw earlier today, we had to cut the concrete. This is really my first good look at it. It looks like everything just turned out perfect. We got the concrete cut, and now that will allow the last course of siding here to drop just below the edge of the concrete, and that keeps water from going in this way. So really happy that that turned out the way that it did. I got to thank my neighbor for coming over with the concrete saw and knocking it out, and for the guys building the building to give us a little bit of time and space to make that happen. But holy moly, y'all, look at how tall this thing is. This is crazy. Another cool thing is regarding this opening. This is a 5x8 opening that is meant to be part of a pass-through to the shop building that's behind us right now. The installer did something really cool. You can't really see it in the dark here, but he cut the bottom of the tubing for me because obviously this tubing is going to have to be removed. He cut the bottom, so all I got to do is cut the top, and it comes right out. Of course, he did that on both sides. So when the time comes, I'll cut the siding, I'll cut the hole here that's been framed out, cut out that bottom tubing, and then we have our opening. Until then, the building will be secure once the actual doors are installed in all the other openings. But here's how my mind works. As huge as all of this is, and as exciting as it all is, I'm focused on the hurdles, on the challenges, and it's becoming much more evident that the cover, or however the shop building is connected to the new building happens, it's got some problems. We've got some real challenges here connecting two buildings of this type perpendicular to each other. I'm not a builder, so it seems like a huge mountain to me, but at any rate, here's the problem. I could just do this opening. Well, for starters, there's an upright here, a column here, that's in the way. It would need to be moved over. Okay, I can understand that. These ribs here create a profile that I don't know how we're going to tie a wall into and have it not leak. Same problem will happen over here on this side. And a different but similar problem will happen when we have a wall coming over this way, because those ribs are not going to line up perfectly with this one. Even if this pad and this pad were the same level, we'd have to get really super lucky for those ribs to line up, because I think they start them from the top, and then how the ribs end up at the bottom is however they end up at the bottom. But we're not going to get that lucky, and these two pads I don't think are at the same level. I think this pad is just a little bit higher than this pad over here. I say that because it looks like this pad slopes down a little bit to join the two. So now we got a problem. That means that those ridges aren't going to line up with those ridges. So I'll have to have some flashing or something to cover that, and the big thing is to keep it from leaking. Our problems continue up here, whether we do a little roof over a little pass-through, or we just opt to pour concrete in all of this and extend the whole building. The roof still has to attach to this building somehow, and we'll still have this profile creating a challenge for us. So we've got a real project ahead of us as far as just connecting these two buildings, but it's got to happen, and this is all happening organically. If we had designed it from the start, top down, everything all at once, we could have coordinated things a little better. But that's not how life is. Things are just happening organically, and we're just going to roll with it. We'll figure it out as we go. And in the end, those are the things that give a place character. So we're going to pack it in for tonight. The guys worked until after dark, and I set up some shop lights for them to continue a little longer. But they'll be back tomorrow. I think they'll put the skin on, and they may even finish this thing tomorrow. With as fast as they work, it would not surprise me at all. So we may be looking at a complete building project by this time tomorrow. Folks, we're making some progress. We have a building going up that's a monster. Look at that thing. Here's the original shop building, or the new shop building. And then here's the new building. The RV hangar, the White House. I don't know. We'll come up with a name. But the crew's making great progress. They may even finish the thing today. They're out at lunch right now. All the siding is on. All the door openings are set. I'm not surprised, but they got all the dimensions correct as I had asked for. We'll be putting in residential doors here and there. That's 11 by 12 and a 32-inch residential door over there, the man door. And then back here, we'll have a 36-inch residential door. This looks like a good place for a lean-to and maybe a fire pit or something. I don't know if that'll ever happen because it's going to be too tempting to park something here like a trailer. But there's a blank canvas here that faces kind of a nice view. We'll see what transpires. Now, if you'll recall, we didn't want a white building. We wanted a white roof and gray sides, or pewter gray. But the colors got mixed up. They offered me a discount to accept it as is. And I'm like, you know what? Function over form. I'll take the money. You know, I was ready for it to look stupid, but I kind of like it. It's not bad. The white is not bad. It's not what I would have asked for, but it's not bad at all. And I'm coming up with ideas on how we could connect all of this. It's really down to two things. One, just a walkway, a covered and secure walkway along this pad between the two buildings. That's probably the most practical thing. But all the problems that I'm having to solve to pull that off, like weather tight, are the same problems I would face if I extended the whole building down. Like tying the walls in, tying the roof in. All of it's the same stuff, just at a bigger scale. So it's really tempting to pour some concrete here. Another cool thing is the guys offered to leave me these panels here. They're extra. Like this one was just there to cover up the ones they're using. And then I think this is a cutoff. Same with this. So that'll give me some material to at least experiment with how I'm going to put all that together over there, or a head start on the material that I need to complete it. But that'll be handy to have around. I'm going to give them some style points here. I'll show you something that they've been doing throughout. And that's leaving their levels up. They didn't level it once and forget it. Maybe this is customary, I don't know, but they've been leaving their levels in place, and I presume checking often. It's pretty cool how they have this set up here. Those are just ratcheting tie downs they're using, and I guess they crank on them and know the effect it's going to have to get things nice and level. Right now I see 3 levels on the building. And then one way back here in this corner. Pretty cool space. Time will tell how we actually end up using this space, but the plan for now is get the RV out of the sun. I painted it a number of years ago, and it did not take long for the Florida sun to destroy the paint job. Also, all of the window seals are dried up. I'm going to have to redo all of that stuff. This is just, you know, the maintenance you do on an RV. But keeping it in here will make all of that stuff last way longer than it ever would sitting outside. So this way I won't be spinning my wheels so much with all the work that I do on the RV over the years. More of it will last longer because it's under a cover. That'll be great. Then we have the whole other half of it plus a bunch of space for storage. So what I think we'll end up doing is a lot of automotive work in here. Hopefully at some point I can put a 2-post lift in this space, and that'll just be like heaven. So the project's going very well. I think they're gonna wind down today, if not definitely tomorrow, and we'll see our starting point for the next steps with the new building. It's about 7 o'clock at the end of the second full day of the build, and they are done. I just settled up with the crew. 3 great guys. They did great work. I'm very happy with the quality of their build. And I was watching. I've read some horror stories, but this was nothing like that. So I'm quite happy to have the building built and done the right way. I could see that they were meticulous about it. They weren't frantic, they weren't sloppy, they cleaned up when they were done, and they brought things to me that they needed to bring to my attention. I just appreciated all of that. So thanks to the crew. Here's our starting point for what comes next at Haptic Garage. I'm like a kid at Christmas. I can't wait. I've already set up a ladder to temporarily hang a light up there. Now, quite obviously, this is a shell. It's just a bare building. So we have to put the doors in, have to do electrical, run air lines, insulate it, put gutters on it, all kinds of stuff to do. So we are in a season of building. And there's a lot to do here, a lot to do on the machine shop. Just a lot to do. But for now, let's hang a couple of lights up there and enjoy our new building. Again, thrilled to have a good experience with my first steel building build. We have room to grow into now, and it's really exciting. Anyway, the building is up. I'm thrilled about it, and I need to hit the sack.